buttress.
Hello and welcome back to Phenomenology Club. I am Buttress, your phenomenological guide. Tonight, we're going to be talking about spirituality. We're going to get deep as fuck. But before we do that, I just want to give a little disclaimer. I want to make a statement. What I want to state is that since tonight we're going to be talking about spirituality, and because I know from experience a lot of people take these discussions and matters of spirituality very seriously, very to heart, treat them almost as if they are sacred. I just want to say that if you feel at any time during this video that I am judging you, I am judging you. But you know what? You're judging me too. We're judging each other. Isn't that great? Isn't that fun? Because unlike a lot of other people, I actually encourage you to be judgmental. Not just here, but in all matters of your daily life. Because literally, passing judgments between opposing ideas and choosing which one you think is better is literally the basis for how you do anything. Even to get out of bed in the morning requires passing a judgment. Should I get out of bed? Should I not get out of bed? I shall judge. So please, as you're watching this, judge me, because I am absolutely, without a doubt, judging you. I know that I can come off as aggressive or confrontational sometimes, but that's just because I'm from New Jersey. Not because I want to be condescending. Because, I'm no fucking genius. I'm actually a fucking idiot. And that's part of why I love philosophy so much. Because the more I engage with it, the more I do it, the more I realize I don't know shit. And the more I realize that I don't know shit, the more I feel like maybe I'm doing this philosophy thing kind of right. Because was it not Socrates himself who said, I know that I know nothing. I know nothing. But I also know that I think maybe I can know some things. And that's why I like to talk about it. That's why I like to engage in discourse. And discourse is a two-way street. That is why this is a club. Because I want to talk with you, not at you. Let's talk about it. So please, I hope you can watch this video with an open mind, and also that you will talk about it with me and leave a comment. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Am I stupid? Let us know. Also, you can talk about it with me and other club members in the Discord for only $1 a month if you sign up on Patreon. You get all the club membership benefits for only $1 a month on Patreon. Just saying. The link to do that is in the comments. But enough. This is not a commercial. This is Phenomenology Club. Tonight's video is about spirituality. Let's fucking do it. So, spirituality. What is it? That's sort of a hard question to answer, right? I mean, the word itself seems to imply some sort of belief in a human spirit or soul. But in thinking about all the various schools of spirituality, I don't think that all of them necessarily rely on some explicit belief in a human spirit or soul, so I'm not sure that that's an adequate definition. I think that when people talk about spirituality, what they're usually referring to is ideas that deal with the meaning of existence, trying to answer some fundamental question about the meaning of existence and how the self can relate to it. But that's also what philosophy is, right? So I don't think that that's an adequate definition either. I think that what people are ultimately referring to when they talk about spirituality are these ideas that deal with this fundamental question of the meaning of existence and how the self relates to it, but also through this sort of metaphysical lens. Spirituality seems to deal with a lot of metaphysical concepts. And what I mean by metaphysical concepts are concepts that exist outside the realm of human understanding, ideas that exist outside the realm of science. And these ideas cannot be articulated necessarily through language. And even though these ideas exist outside the realm of human understanding and of science, and in that way cannot be wholly articulated or described, maybe they can be accessed through some form of overcoming, of transcending the self, through meditation, through ritual, through focus, maybe with the help of psychedelics. These are all the things that I think people are usually referring to when they talk about schools or matters of spirituality. And also, of course, religion. Religious people are also spiritual. They are practicing spirituality. But we find often, I think, that people usually use the word spirituality almost to set themselves apart from religious people. I mean, how often do we hear people say something to the effect of, I'm not a religious person, but I am very spiritual. Or, I don't believe in organized religion, but I think spirituality is very important. And I mean, it makes sense, right? Why someone might want to consciously distance themselves from organized religion. Because look at some of the things that the most popular religions have become associated with. Whether it's rampant pedophilia in Catholicism, or crazy racism and homophobia in evangelicalism, or the political subjugation of women in countries like Saudi Arabia that do so under the pretense of Islamic law. And even though a lot of these criticisms have sort of existed for a while, I think that they're becoming increasingly relevant in the context of this modern discussion that it seems we're finally starting to have in the mainstream anyway. I'm talking about in the United States of America, where in the mainstream, aka in white America, we're finally starting to have these discussions about this history of the oppressive nature of the church and Christianity. I mean, why is Christianity the number one religion in Africa and in South America? Because it was imposed upon them violently through the forces of colonialization. It's not that Christianity is just some great infectious idea. If it was, then why aren't there more Christians in Asia? It is not ideology that has ever moved Christianity. And it's also relevant to say that it's not ideology even that made the church act so violent historically. People always like to bring up things like the Crusades when talking about Christianity's violent history. But the Crusades would have happened with or without Christianity. You could replace Christianity with any other ideology and the Crusades would still have happened. All of these movements were political. Just like ISIS would exist without Islam, it's not Islamic ideology that made ISIS. Islamic ideology is just the band-aid on a deeper, political, tangible wound. Religion is the opiate of the masses. It's what you feed the footwork. All people are already the product of their geopolitical environment. And this environment, this very real environment, informs their decisions and their opinions. Religion is sort of the afterthought in that way. Religion is the justification for an action. Religion is not the motivating force in most actions. Sure, you'll get crazy zealots that do whatever thing because they think God told them to. But I suspect that even in their instances, those people would do that thing anyway, even if they were members of some other religion, and they would use that religion instead to justify their crazy, terrible action. Regardless, it's undeniable that the forces of religion and spirituality have been so influential on civilization throughout its many movements, and that its overall influence still has so much impact on our daily lives. I mean, here in the United States, look at how much legislation is tied to Christian ideology. How long has Christianity been the law of the land here? And how often do we fight about this? This is God's country. I mean, look at how many states have anti-sodomy laws. Or why is it illegal for me to take my shirt off in pretty much everywhere, I think, except for New York City? Because titties are magic? No, because titties are magic according to the Bible. Or why does legislation favor sobriety? Why are there so many anti-drug laws? Largely due to racism, of course, but what is the justification that sobriety is good and doing drugs is bad? Even when you're not operating heavy machinery or driving a car or whatever, why are drugs bad? There's no reason. But the implied justification, even if it's not spelled out in the legislation, is that sobriety is good because Jesus. Anyway, the relevance in bringing up any of this stuff is because I think that all of these factors, these things I have briefly discussed, are informing this new trend that I feel I am perceiving in the Western world and in the United States especially. And this trend is not particular to any demographic. What trend am I talking about? This trend towards spirituality, away from religion. People who aren't religious but identify as spiritual. And a lot of these people don't even necessarily subscribe to one particular school of practice or belief. But I am noticing that a lot of people are definitely gravitating to some specific things. What am I talking about? What kind of things? I feel like I'm noticing people gravitate more towards these spiritual practices that historically have been considered kind of fringe. When I say fringe, I mean fringe to Christianity. What kind of things am I talking about? Bitch, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about crystals, healing crystals. I'm talking about people getting into tarot cards. I'm talking about people getting into ritual magic, witchcraft, Buddhism, and of course the big one, the really big one, the super fucking big one. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that big A, astrology. It seems like every fucking day there's more and more people into all this kind of bullshit. And the point in bringing up everything that I just brought up is because I think that a lot of this is largely due to the fact that we as a society are finally starting to critique Christianity. It's almost rebellious in that way. It feels rebellious, and it kind of is. Because what better way to get revenge on Christianity than to become a witch? Than to get into all that dark side stuff. Now, I know some of you might already be being like, well, fuck this bitch, okay? Because my family was never Christian and this and that, and you're not even talking to me right now, and yada fucking yada. I'll get to you, bitch, if you just shut the fuck up and let me talk for a fucking second, okay? Like I said, we are all products of our environment, and this is all very relevant. So, I do very much feel that a big part of the reason that all these sort of fringe spiritualities are becoming more and more popular is because of this critique that we're finally having here of Christianity. But I feel as if this trend is also in response to another trend, a trend that has been going on for a long time now. This trend away from Christianity towards atheism, towards agnosticism, towards secularism in general. A lot of people just don't know necessarily what they believe. So in one way, it's like this trend seems to be growing in response to this critique of Christianity, as a response to it, a fuck you to Christianity. At the same time, it seems to be growing in response to this absence of Christianity, because religion and spirituality are such a staple of culture. They are so important to all civilizations worldwide since the beginning of recorded history that I think it's like when you carve one out of any given society, it's like a vacuum is created and you can feel its void. And now we got people like, where's the magic gone? I need the magic. Life is magic and I need it. I need the fucking magic. So to me, it's like bewildering. Because on the one hand, it's like, hell yeah, we're finally getting away from Christianity. This thing that has had such a fucking death grip, a chokehold on American culture, especially for so fucking long. We're finally getting away from it. Now it's okay to be an atheist. Now it's okay to tell Jesus jokes. Oh my God, that's great. Fuck yeah, we're getting away from it. Then I turn around and people are praying to fucking crystals. And they're doing tarot cards and they're making birth charts. It's like, guys, stop. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop. It's like we've traded one fantasy for another. Because life has to always be magic, right? But hold on a second, right? Because who the fuck am I? Who the fuck do I think I am to tell anybody what you believe is stupid and what I believe is not stupid? Because when I think about it, doesn't really everything we believe ultimately boil down to nothing? Because even to believe in something like science, something I very much believe in, even to believe in science requires faith, right? Faith that science is a valuable system of knowing, or at least hoping to know things. Faith that things could ever even be known. Faith that I exist in the external world, period. That the external world exists, that I exist. I put faith in all of these ideals to engage with science. I have no proof that science is a better system than something like praying with fucking crystals or astrology, right? So who the fuck am I? And isn't this what makes spirituality valuable in the first place? That it's a personal experience, that people get what they can out of it. I mean, we're dealing with these deep fundamental questions of the meaning of existence, right? So who am I to tell somebody else not to engage with whatever ideas? Because ultimately you are just living your life. You only have one. And whatever makes you feel good, whatever feels right to you, that is what you should pursue, right? Or even if that is not what you should pursue, if that feels good to you, just do it, right? Ultimately, it's personal, and it's your choice. Your choice. Is it really your choice? Because when I think about it, I don't really think that I believe in anything voluntarily. I don't choose to believe in stuff. I can't make myself believe in a God any more than somebody who believes in a God can choose to just not believe in one. I don't think that I really have a choice or that my beliefs are voluntary. So what is motivating my beliefs? What are they predicated on? Reason. I have reasons for what I believe. Just like the person who believes in God has reasons for what they believe. Because ultimately, belief follows reason. Belief follows understanding. If I see a bowl of candy and I want to eat that candy so bad, so bad, I am dying to eat this candy. But then someone tells me that bowl of candy is poison. All of a sudden, like magic, my desire to eat that candy is completely abolished. Just in light of receiving this new information. I don't want to eat no fucking poison candy. Why would I want to do that? I'll die. I am not going to eat it. I no longer want to eat it, even though just a moment ago I wanted to eat it so bad. My belief that I wanted to eat this candy has changed in the face of my new understanding. That is how beliefs work. And as I go through existence and navigate it, and new evidence arises all the time, and I must make judgments in the face of this new evidence, my beliefs are always being shaped and modified. This is the entire mechanism of knowing anything. And we all enact this process the same way. And this process is in accordance with the scientific method. Because what is science really? The mechanism of science is quite simple. What happens is the subject observes some inexplicable phenomena, makes that phenomena the intent of their focus, and then through a process of observation and experimentation tries to reach some sort of conclusion or conclusions about that phenomena. And we are literally doing this from the day we are born, even before we are born. But when we are born, as soon as we open our eyes and can see shit, we are basically entering into this sort of contractual belief in the external world. And even though I say things like I don't know for sure the external world exists or that I exist in it, I do believe that I do exist in this world and that the world exists because I can't help it. I can say all damn day long that, yeah, sure, maybe this is a simulation, maybe I don't exist. But the fact remains that I believe very much that I do exist because I can't turn this shit off if I wanted to, unless I died, which I don't want to do. So ever since I am born and enter into this world and can see it, can feel it, I am enacting this process of science. I am performing the scientific method. As a baby, right? I see a face. I can't not see the face. It comes into my face. It is the intent of my focus, this big thing in my vision. I have no idea what it is. What do I do? I'll experiment. I'll touch it. Oh my God. Hey, nothing bad happened and that felt kind of cool. I'm gonna touch it again. Ooh, kind of cool. Gonna keep touching it. Touch it a little harder. Oh my God, it just made a sound. What the hell? If I touch it again, will it make that sound again? Oh my God, it did. I'm gonna touch it again. Made the sound. Touch it again. Made the sound. And now all of a sudden, my body's doing something. I have no idea what it is, but we know that that thing is laughing. Oh my God, now my body is laughing. I have no idea what laughing is because I'm a fucking baby, but it feels good. I know that if I touch the face and it makes the sound, then my body does the thing that feels good. I'm just gonna keep doing this. Touch the face, made a sound, I'm laughing. Touch the face, made a sound, I'm laughing. Touch the face, made a sound, I'm fucking laughing. Holy shit. What the fuck is this? This process of observing and testing phenomena in our experience of existing is probably the most natural thing we do. And science as a system is basically just a system that we came up to describe this process. That's literally it. Science is not perfect by any means. It is a human creation and is subject to all of our flaws. But as an ideology, as a philosophy, because that's really all science is at baseline, I think it's pretty much the most useful thing that we can look to if we want to try to know anything. And I think that no matter what you say or what anyone says, we are all engaged in this process, this scientific process at all times. So even crazy creationists out here saying things like, science is wicked, science is this, science is that. Ultimately, even they believe in science too. First of all, I know that you watch the Weather Channel, okay? If you say you don't, you're a fucking liar. But even if you don't, okay, let's assume you're some Christian wacko, you hate all science, you will never engage in any sort of scientific thing, so you move into the middle of the woods and you just decide to cut yourself off from all technology, you make clothes with leaves, you have literally cut yourself off as best as you can from science. But even then, you are still enacting this process I just described. You know to put one foot in front of the other because you had put one foot in front of the other. And when you do, it lets you travel across ground to get from here to here. You know that when you feel hungry, you satisfy that hunger by eating. You know when you are thirsty, you satisfy your thirst with drink. You cannot cut yourself off from this process of trying to know things and engaging with the things you think you feel you know. We are all engaged in this process at all times. We are all doing science. And it is that reason that makes me feel confident in my belief that it is fair for us to critique each other's beliefs, spiritual or not. Because this process I just described also applies to thinking in abstract concepts. we are also testing our ideas in a way that resembles what I just described. Ooh, I have an idea. What do I think about this idea? Let me make it the intent of my focus. Let me put it against other ideas I think I know. Do they hold up? Do they not hold up? I think this thing may be true. Let me see. Let me think about other things I think might be true. Let me put them up against it. Let me test this thing that I'm thinking about and see if I think that it is worthwhile. We are all always doing this, both in our physical reality and in our conceptual reality, the one where we deal with matters of spirituality and spiritualism. And even the person who engages in spirituality is still doing that from this scientific approach. This person hasn't gotten into spirituality for no reason. They have reasons based on observable phenomena that they think to be valid reasons for why they should be into spirituality. But what are these sorts of reasons? What attracts people to spirituality? Well, what makes any specific spiritual practice seem more appealing than another one? Because there's a reason that somebody might get into one thing versus another, right? Let's talk about a specific example, astrology. And I want to pick astrology because it is so appealing to so many people, clearly, because so many people all of a sudden are so into it. Why is astrology so popular? Why are more people into astrology versus palm reading, another form of divination that also has ancient roots and is overall very similar? I think the answer is pretty obvious. The reason that I think people are so into astrology is because it appears to have a basis in science. Because how many times do we see when somebody criticizes astrology, a common defense is, well, astrology actually has its roots in science. And you know what? They're absolutely correct. Astrology is founded on scientific principles. Astrology was actually astronomy, a legitimate science, for the longest time. But there came a point as scientific understanding improved where eventually people decided, hey, let's take this more verifiable data set, the thing that we now call astronomy, and put it over here. And let's take all this other dumb fucking bullshit and put that over here and call that astrology. Because astrology deals specifically with the practice of divining information about people and about events from planetary relationships and the stars and all that shit. That is what distinguishes it from astronomy, okay? Because I've seen this defense so often, so recently. People are like, you're like 50 to 75% water and the tides are affected by the moon, so you think you're not affected by astrology? Bitch, what are you talking about? That's not what astrology is. You're talking about some natural science. Sure, of course I believe I am a product of my physical environment, and that physical factors about the environment like gravity and temperature and fucking weather and everything are affecting me physiologically, of course. So telling me that the moon affects the fucking tides and I'm made of water does not verify astrology. You sound like a fucking idiot, okay? Can I just say that? I'm sorry, I'm mean. I know, I'm being mean. I gotta stop. Let me calm down. And you know, I don't want to retreat back into the whole societal discussion because we're starting to whittle down to the individual. But I think it's also relevant to bring up that I keep seeing another defense of astrology that seems very popular. This idea that science's rejection of astrology is very Eurocentric, and that astrology as a practice was taken very seriously and is taken very seriously by various non-Western cultures. And this overly critical rejection of astrology is very Eurocentric. The Western world sort of demonized astrology. And it's like, the ignorance is just astounding to me, because it's like, you know that popular astrology is Western astrology, right? Out of all of the hundreds of people I've seen going on about whatever astrological bullshit, all these different people that are into it, I have yet to see one person practice non-Western astrology. The 12 signs of the zodiac, all this shit about ascendants and houses and all that shit, that is all Western astrology. And all of this just seems to confirm my suspicions that a lot of people haven't even bothered to investigate the merits of astrology. I mean, all this information is out there. It's so easy. Seriously, just read the Wikipedia entry on astrology. Can you just do that for me? There's plenty of links. At least know the thing that you're out here promoting, the thing that you're actively engaging with. I mean, don't you just want to do that? It's like people are lying to themselves. Like I just said, I really think the reason that so many people are into astrology is because it does have its foundations in science. It is intrinsically linked to astronomy, an actual science. But like I also said, astrology deals specifically with divining information about people and events from these planetary relationships. It is not the science. Astrology has pretty much been deemed to be garbage by the scientific community. And it's not like the scientific community has never engaged with it in any real way either. It's not like the scientific community has been like, you know what, we're not even gonna bother with that stuff because that's for all the hippies and the weirdos. No, science has actually engaged hardcore with astrology to prove that it is invalid. Because astrology has been so important to so many people, to multiple civilizations for so long. That is why they made such an effort to make sure that they let you know that it is bullshit despite what you might be feeling about it. So don't you see then how hypocritical it would be for anybody who believes in astrology on the basis that it has its foundations in science to then also, in the face of this critique that comes directly from the scientific community itself, that astrology is completely unscientific. Don't you see how hypocritical it is to say that you still believe in it? Because you can't say, I believe in this thing because science, but then also know that it is completely unscientific and still defend it. It makes no fucking sense. And I understand the appeal, I really do. Because when I think about astrology, I too think about science. I think about ancient humans doing trippy ass math and astronomy and building the pyramids and Stonehenge and all this shit. Totally. But then when I read about it and get educated, because it's not that hard, all this information is out there, it's not hard to see that humans didn't achieve all these things through all of this mystical bullshit about the divinatory qualities of the stars and the planets. No, they were just doing astronomy. Just because it's intrinsically linked to astrology in your mind doesn't mean that it is. Early humans were not stupid. They were doing some trippy ass shit. People seem to think that early humans were a bunch of idiots or something. Believed in all this mystical hocus pocus and they didn't really have any real math or science, so how could it be that they were able to pull off these amazing feats of science? No, bitch, they weren't stupid at all. They were very smart. I think that's another problem. So what, they didn't have plumbing or TV? Those motherfuckers were smart, and a lot of them already knew astrology was fucking dumb. And literally since the ancient times, before people even knew the world was fucking round, there were people being like, hey, you know that all this astrology shit is stupid, right? Seriously. Anyway, so clearly, science cannot be your defense for believing in a thing like astrology. That's clearly not going to hold, because it has been deemed to be completely unscientific by the scientific community. So science is not your defense here. Just let it go. So what is the actual reason? Because all beliefs are predicated on reasons, right? What is the reason then that people cling so hard to it? There has to be a reason, because belief follows reason. And the reason that people ultimately believe in astrology then, the people that know it is unscientific, is because to them, it feels right. It feels like it makes sense. And they are basing that on their experience, their perception, how many times do we see people say things like, well, I didn't believe in it either until my friend did my birth chart and it was all so strangely accurate and it knew that my mom died, and basically now I just can't fight the feeling. There's something there. I know it sounds crazy, dude, but I just know there's something there. And really, I do seem to subscribe to a certain set of characteristics that have to do with my star sign and my rising moon and my what the fuck ever. And all my friends seem to adhere to a certain set of personality characteristics too. You can't say that there's nothing there, dude. Come on. You can't say there's nothing. You gotta admit there's something. I'll give a personal anecdote from my own personal experience. I never really was convinced by any sort of horoscope or birth chart thing or whatever. Not at all. Until I read the personality assessment for myself, being born on my birthday, the Ides of March, in that book, The Secret Language of Birth Dates. I thought that shit was so freaky deaky. Honestly, it freaked me out. It was so bizarre to me. It still is bizarre to me how specific it got. And it freaked me out so bad that I even looked up my friends. I looked up celebrities. I was looking up Donald Trump, Hitler, the Kardashians, just to test it, just to see. And it was still so freaky deaky. I mean, the language it uses is so specific, so oddly specific. It is bizarre. I genuinely felt that way. And I genuinely still feel that way. But it doesn't matter. I still don't believe in astrology because I don't trust myself. What do I mean by that? I mean, I don't trust my own feelings. I don't trust my own perception. Of course, I trust that my perception is somewhat accurate in some way, that what I am observing is somewhat reflective of something probably happening in the external world, and that is why I enact this process of science to try to know things about it. But what I don't trust is that my perceptive response to these things is accurate. What I don't trust is there's some one-to-one translation of what I think is happening in the world versus what is actually happening in the world. And that shouldn't be hard at all, I think, for somebody to accept. Somebody who's been here long enough to know that oftentimes my perception is deceptive. I mean, how many times have you thought somebody said your name? How many times have you just been sitting in a room all by yourself and you think you hear something? I think I feel something. Oh, maybe there's a presence here. Oh my God, I thought I saw a face. Oh my God, I thought I saw this, I thought I saw that, I thought I felt this, I thought I felt that. I thought the dress was blue, I thought the dress was gold, I thought I heard Laurel, I thought I heard Yanny. It's so obvious that our perception can be oftentimes deceptive. And like I just sort of alluded to, it's not actually your perception itself that is deceptive. When I hear Laurel and you hear Yanny, what we are both hearing is the same exact thing. This audio clip is not different for you than it is for me. What is actually different is our interpretations of the same audio clip. Though we both are perceiving the same thing, we are internalizing our perception of it differently. Because our processes of perception or of internalizing and making sense of our perception, those processes are biased. Our perception is biased. And there are so many factors that might influence what I hear versus what you hear, or what I see versus what you see, and what I might feel about a thing versus what you might feel about a thing. I mean, think about hearing a song, right? Where you hear the lyrics different from what they actually are. What are influencing that process? Maybe the reason that you think you are hearing certain words that aren't actually being said is that the words you think you are hearing are actually used more commonly. You've heard them more often. But somebody else might hear other words or the actual words more often and recognize those words more quickly than you would, because you're so used to hearing these other words. Or you might be used to hearing these words spoken in a specific way that resembled that way that you thought you heard it. Whereas another person might not have that bias, because that is a bias. All bias means is that it is weighted in a direction, that it is not neutral. You are not receiving raw, unfiltered data. Everything that you perceive is going through the lens of your structure, your logical framework of beliefs and experience. And your experience is the thing that you use to validate a lot of your beliefs. But I cannot put trust in my feelings. So even when I read a book like Secret Language of Birthdays and I think it is super freaky deaky, I'm not just going to all of a sudden cast all my reason to the wind and be like, well, I guess there's something there. Or even be like, I know it's unscientific, but I gotta say, I think there is something there. I honestly don't. I really just don't. Because I trust science. Because science, like I said, is a system that really is just trying to describe these modes of knowing. I put faith in it. I have to. Because it's what I naturally do. Do you understand? My experience does not validate my beliefs. Your experience does not validate your beliefs. You just want them to. Something I hear often from spiritual people is that if you've had the experiences I've had, then you'd believe. You'd know what I'm talking about. I've had experiences. I can't wholly articulate them, but I know they mean something. But actually, I have had many transcendent experiences, okay? I've seen the DMT elves. I've spoken in tongues. I've been punched by the fucking Holy Spirit. Literally. Punched. At least it felt that way. I've seen demons when I was into witchcraft. I have had experiences. But throughout all these different experiences, in these different realms of spirituality and practices, I did not feel as if any of them validated any beliefs I had about spirituality or my spirituality or the world. In fact, the opposite thing happened. The fact that I have had transcendent experiences in multiple schools of spirituality actually validates the belief that I have that none of these things or practices were actually necessary to have my experiences. The common denominator throughout all my experiences, my transcendent spiritual experiences, is my mind, my modes of perception. This is what is actually trippy. Not Christianity, not Thelema, not ritual magic, not sex magic, not astrology, not none of it. All things that I have engaged in, none of these were necessary to have transcendent experiences. And I'm not saying that I would have had the specific experiences I've had without them, but that they are just sort of filters and methods by which I had these experiences. But that since none of them are actually valid, I must be able to have these experiences without them. Why do people think that you can't get trippy, that you can't get deep unless you're adhering to some form of ritualism or something? I think people need to stop getting so fucking fantastical and start getting a little more science fiction, okay? Why do I need to meditate through the lens of some school of Eastern mysticism to have the benefits of meditation, which is really just focus? Why can't meditation be done from a secularist viewpoint? I agree that focusing your intent on nothing is trippy. Why do I have to think about all this other shit, like killing my ego, overcoming myself, all of this bullshit? It seems to me that if I want to have the most transcendent experience, I should probably try to go directly to the source. And the source is my fucking perception. Holy shit. I don't need all the bells and whistles of mysticism and spirituality and whatever esoteric bullshit you can pile on top of what is actually happening. No, I want to go directly to the source. I believe very much that I can have transcendent experiences without these things. And I have had these transcendent experiences without these things. Of course, I did not internalize them as being transcendent because I hate the word transcendent. Because what am I transcending? Myself. Why must I transcend myself? Why must I kill my ego? I am myself. Myself is the only lens I have through which I can experience existence. Without myself, I wouldn't be here. I can't divorce myself from myself. I can't overcome myself. I am always at all times only myself. I fucking love myself. And in this way, I think spirituality is actually sort of ascetic. What is ascetic? Now, I don't like to quote specific texts in these various videos because I don't think that any of my arguments need to rely on any external texts to make good points. But I do want to bring up a book that I love very much by Nietzsche, a philosopher I love very much, called On the Genealogy of Morality. Just quickly, I want to bring it up. It's very popular, and I think a lot of you have probably read it, so I don't feel that bad about bringing it up. But if you haven't read it, it doesn't really matter, because the idea is very simple. In On the Genealogy of Morality, Nietzsche is specifically critiquing Christianity. And he makes the argument that Christianity is founded on asceticism. What is asceticism? Asceticism is the practice of extreme self-denial, of abstinence, of self-discipline. He says that he believes Christianity is founded on these principles. Initially, that it stems from a feeling of powerlessness, and that the powerless people look at the powerful people with envy. They want to be like them, but they can't. They don't feel they are worthy of being like them. So instead of trying to be like them, they create a system that validates their powerlessness. In genealogy, that system is Christianity. And what Christianity does is creates a system that validates these feelings of powerlessness, these feelings of never being able to truly achieve great things or know great things. So they create a God who knows everything, who is all powerful, and we grovel in his presence because we are so unworthy. We are just lowly humans. We cannot achieve great things. We are at our core wicked, undeserving, stupid, ignorant. We are our own worst enemy. We must transcend our original sin. To me, spirituality works in the same exact way. It identifies the self as being powerless, as being a thing to overcome. We must kill our ego. We must deny ourselves. We are at baseline stupid. And even though spirituality doesn't create a God per se that knows everything while we know nothing, drowning in ignorance, but it creates systems of knowing, things like astrology, where we might not understand totally how it works, but it does work. Science just can't describe it, but there is something there. Same with ritual magic or any of these things. We don't understand exactly what's going on, but I think there's something there. In this way, I believe it's so ascetic. It's anti-human. It's anti-self. And that's why I hate it. And I want to crush it. I mean, look at the sort of ideas that have spawned out of these various schools of spirituality. Ancient aliens, these theories about aliens coming down to teach the stupid humans how to build the pyramids and how to build Stonehenge, because surely we couldn't have done it all on our own. We are just stupid little puny humans with tiny minds. We don't know anything. Or even ideas about the DMT-Ls. Maybe that's some original memory implanted into us. Like, oh, we can't be special on our own accord because of the evolutionary processes that made us special. No, there must be some big magical secret to why we're like this, right? Please, give me a fucking break. If you want to hate yourself and hate us as a species, you can go do that over there. Over here, we want to be the shit. We want to be the best fucking humans we can be. And what do humans do naturally? Try to know things. We're not going to drown in ignorance over here just because you think that some things can't be known. We are not going to be ascetic. We are not going to subscribe to asceticism. I mean, I think it's so funny because spirituality is sort of this invention by humans that is meant to help us describe these questions about meaning and existence, right? To help us try to know something about these things. But it's like they all end in a dead end. They all basically end up with, you can't really know about this stuff. This stuff transcends understanding. But I don't know, meditate for a long time, or maybe walk on hot coals, or fucking do drugs for 10 days in a cave, and maybe you can know about some of this stuff. Of course, when you do know about this stuff, you still won't be able to describe it with your words or science or anything, but I mean, you say you're enlightened now, so I guess I'll just take your word for it. You know everything, right? You're so smart you can't even describe to me in basic terminology that I can understand what the fuck you figured out when you were in that cave for 10 days, right? You just know stuff now, right? Shut up. Shut the fuck up. I think just like how Christianity says things like, His ways are mysterious. You must just have faith. I think spirituality does the same exact thing by saying science can't know everything. We can't know everything. It completely shields itself from criticism in this way. Because why is there even this divide between matters of the spirit and matters of science? Even in circles that are not religious, because that's a popular stance that Christians and Muslims take. But why is that also the viewpoint of people that are just into random fringe spiritualities? It shouldn't be. Why must we divide these things? Why do people think that something like the paranormal could never be explained, right? I don't know whether or not ghosts exist. I don't personally believe they do, because I think if they did, we'd have a fuck ton of ghosts everywhere, and we'd have more animal ghosts, and we'd have like dinosaur ghosts and shit too. So I don't believe they exist, but I believe they totally could exist, and that if they did exist, there would be, naturally, a scientific explanation. We just haven't come upon it yet. Why are some people so insistent that, science can't know about ghosts, We can't trust science when it comes to the paranormal and ghosts and stuff. I mean, they can't know everything. Why do we think that in 100 years ghosts aren't going to be in the textbooks of third graders? Like, everybody knows what a ghost is. It's this and this and this and this. Like, duh, hello. Like, why can't science ever tell us what a fucking ghost is? I don't think that that's so outrageous. If ghosts exist, like, why wouldn't they be able to? Why do we have to separate spirituality from science? Because how fucking convenient. A lot of spirituality is bullshit. It's so stupid. Now, I understand, yes, that science has sort of scoffed at things historically. More recently are starting to be more engaged with by science. Things like consciousness, the nature of consciousness, what is consciousness, yada yada yada. Science is actually super interested in this question. When maybe before it kind of treated a lot of that stuff sort of as like, oh, that's a bunch of hocus pocus, you're just conceptualizing consciousness wrong. Consciousness is just the illusory byproduct of having a complex thinking system that is enacted by processes in your physical brain. No longer is this necessarily the popular idea. Scientists want to know what consciousness is. They are engaging with it. I think that's awesome. So why can't you approach these ideas you have about the questions of meaning, of existence, and your feelings and your perceptions from this lens that maybe science could tell you something about that? Doesn't that seem much more logical, more rational, and more fulfilling in that way to you? My brothers, my sisters, does it not? And this is ultimately what I want to conclude with. This idea that you either respect or you reject science. And since I think that we all really do respect science as a method, since we are all doing it naturally, and science just describes these things that we do naturally in trying to know things, I think that you really have no other choice but to embrace it fully. And yes, be critical of science as a system. It is not perfect. Historically, it has done tons of dumb shit. Executed people for telling the truth. Scoffed at things that they later realized were worthwhile. Science is still a fucking baby. I mean, we just barely cured polio yesterday. Not actually yesterday, but you know what I mean? Too many people have this idea that science is just so sure of itself, and that is unattractive to them, understandably. But I think that they have the wrong idea entirely. I think that our best scientific minds do not feel this way at all. I think our best scientific minds feel like Socrates. I know that I know nothing. But science wants to try to know things. I think we should commit to it as a method, since we're already sort of bound to it. And the first way you can do that, I think, is to stop putting faith in your feelings, in your intuitions. And in saying all of that, I don't want to seem like I'm just some cold hard skeptic. Oh, fuck your feelings, facts over feelings, bro. No, not at all. I don't feel that way at all. I'm so into phenomenology specifically, because if you remember, phenomenology ultimately wants to be like a science. But phenomenology is also concerned with, first and foremost, the phenomena of experience. So all of my feelings and my intuitions, even the ones that I have no verifiable explanation for, these are still all very important within the realm of phenomenology. We're just not going to put full trust in them up front. We want to investigate them. I want to know why when I'm sitting alone in a room and I think I feel something, I think I feel there is a presence with me. Why do I feel that way? What is relevant about that? Is there any relevance to that phenomena? Why is my mind able to enter these tourbillon zones when I have these transcendent experiences? Why is anything? What is experience? How am I experiencing it? These are all questions that we are very concerned with at Phenomenology Club. We love feeling. Feeling is ultimately what makes life worthwhile. And I feel a sense of satisfaction from engaging with these sorts of ideas directly. This is fun. When I said before, I feel like people want the magic, and that's why they pursue certain things, certain spiritual things. I'm not trying to be like, fuck you and your feeling, fuck you and wanting to see the magic, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm trying to tell you, this shit is already magic. Look at my hands, dude. Look at this shit. What the fuck is this? What the fuck? I can what? I can pick up a marker. First of all, how did I just do that? That's crazy. Why can I do that? What processes came together to let me do that? I can pick up this marker and then I can put it over there. What the fuck did I just do? This marker was, oh my god, it's there again. Holy shit, everything is so trippy. Everything is already magic. Let's go directly to the source if we can. Let's stop obfuscating this entire process of trying to understand existence with all these bells and whistles and fucking Lord of the Rings ass bullshit about the stars and magic. Stop. This shit is already magic. We're trying to go to the fucking source. And I just want to wrap up with one more idea. Because ultimately, even though this is a philosophy club, this is also an art club. Because what I do is make art. That is my ultimate application for all of these ideas. And when I think about art specifically in the context of spirituality, I think that I almost approach art and art making as a spiritual practice. And I don't know how to feel about that. Because I think a part of me, at least for so long, has made me, not even actively, but sort of peripherally, engage this idea that making art is a natural impulse. In that way, I've sort of put art in this unknown category in my head. This thing I want to pursue, this thing I put faith in, even though I don't necessarily believe that it is intrinsically valuable. Because when I think about it deeper, I think, well, maybe art is just a coincidence of natural impulses. Somebody made it, and then they were like, you know what, this feels good. And other people looked at it and they were like, this feels good to look at. This is fun. Let's keep doing this, you know? It sounds so easy and obvious when I say it, but I do feel like there is this part of me that sort of treats art as magic in my head. And I think a big reason is because I don't actually understand exactly how it works. I understand some of the basic ideas and even some of the basic neuroscientific ideas about why I enjoy looking at a thing or hearing a thing. But science has not yet been able to really describe to us exactly why we feel what we feel when we listen to music, or when we look at an art piece we love. I can articulate in pretty thorough terms what I think I am enjoying about a thing, how I think I am enjoying it, but I feel like as a phenomenon, the experience of experiencing art is still occupying this sort of unknown territory in my mind. So I want to acknowledge that, and I want to try to change that. I want to form some clearer ideas on why I appreciate art, because I believe myself capable of doing that. I put faith in myself and in the natural things that I do in trying to know about things. And I hope that you can too, because you are capable as well of knowing things. Don't resign to this unknown, to the idea that there are things you cannot know. We want to be confident thinkers. We want to engage with ideas confidently and with excitement. So I hope that maybe this video has partially inspired you to do that, and that you will continue to do that with me here at Phenomenology Club. Good night.